Well, the All Black team to play the final pool match has been announced, and Ian Foster has made 9 changes to the starting lineup. I'm joined by Sir John Kirwan and Mils Muliaina. And JK, you said on breakdown that you'd like to see us play near enough to our top team. That's obviously not the case.
Well, no, I think it's a good side though, Nisbo. I think the interesting thing for me, Mils, was do you run Frizzell and Geordie Barrett out again because they haven't played, giving Lomax a start. I mean, a lot of the changes are on the bench. You see Blackadder come in. So for me, it's changes, but it still looks like a pretty strong test side for me.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think in terms of the key positions, just the continuity in that. When you look at hooker, you're still sticking with your likes of Taylor being out there, and you know that's key when you go into the quarterfinals. Obviously, when you look at the set piece, you look at the middle row. You got Tupobai and also Whitelock, but then you've also got Barrett to sort of cover that off. So how do you sort of and then to Lucius Saab needed a rest, but you got your captain back, but plenty of firepower too. And then you look a little bit wide again, a key position in 10, and Moonga steps up again. Bowden Barrett gets a rest, but also Damien McKenzie, probably a chance for him to sort of see where he can cover first 5 and sort of out the back. But what's really illustrated in this side is our depth. When you're making 9 changes, you're looking at this team, and it's almost near our best, but it's a solid-looking team, Nisbo.
Yeah, it is. You mentioned the captain being back. How important a game is it for him?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have been too happy. He's been, carrying injuries all year. The niggly back turned into a bit more serious. Went on the other night, and probably was short of a gallop. So he needs to play. He probably needs to play as many minutes as he does until he puts his hands up and say, I've had enough, if he wants to put himself back into contention. He probably won't have 80 minutes in him going forward towards the quarterfinal. That's going to be a big selection headache for Fozzie, but you do know how good he is. So he'll probably want to go out there and make sure he does that hard stuff, carries the ball hard, does the defensive stuff, puts pressure on over the ball. I think the other big statement was, Will Jordan is our winger, Nisbo.
Yeah.
He is our winger.
Yeah.
Mackenzie will probably come on Mils at first 5, and I'd like to see him do what he did the other night, just read what's in front of him and play. And Barrett will come on at fullback. Do you see that happening? And that's the final decision. That's our back 3.
Well, I think it's too late to change now. Obviously, Will Jordan is a class act, but you would have thought if anything was going to happen, this would probably be his opportunity. But it's got a makings of your quarterfinal team, really, and the balance is sort of plenty of cover. Mackenzie can cover 10 and 15, and you look a little bit forward. Anton Brown, he gets the opportunity at centre. So, where does he sit when he sort of is it a bench so that he can cover second 5 and centre, and then obviously in the forwards as well. There's plenty of cover all around, but you can almost see the team that Ian Foster's sort of starting to get to, come quarterfinal time. I know it's Uruguay, and we should, realistically beat them, but you still want a consistent sort of performance from these guys as well.
Yeah, well, so who are the fringe players, if you like, who can put their hands up and say, I want to play in the quarterfinal?
I think Takiaho is a really interesting one. I think Dane Coles came on the other night and brings all his experience. Is his throwing an issue? I certainly think he's outstanding with the ball in hand. So he's a fringe player. What happens to Blackadder? Does he play well enough to say, I'm going to go on the bench because he can cover 7, 8 and 6 at a pinch? So I'd say that fringe. And then you'd probably be disappointed if you're Havili. He's probably had a crack, but is he now on a bit of an outer? So those are the sort of questions that I was asking about that side particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think guys now, when you look into the quarterfinals, and particularly this last game, probably won't get another opportunity. Tokiaho for me as well, probably his last chance to really try and stamp a mark and see whether he can push towards obviously a bench spot. Cody Taylor's playing really well, so he needs to consistently keep doing that. But yeah, there's a lot of guys there. I think he's pretty well settled in his mind. You can almost see it. There'll be a couple of positions, perhaps, who comes off the bench at lock. Tupobai gets an opportunity to, his sort of mix compared to I suppose a Whitelock. Later on in the track, but it's a solid-looking team. I think if you're an All Black fan, you'd be thinking, man, there's plenty of depth in our side, which is pretty pleasing.
And does he have to tread carefully with the likes of Lomax, Frizzell, Geordie Barrett and these sort of guys? He probably won't want 80 minutes out of them.
50 minutes.
Yeah.
I think 50 minutes Geordie, Frizzell especially, that are coming back off injury, Lomax. 50 minutes will be enough, and hopefully it's just a really good, another really solid performance with accuracy, and at 50 minutes you can start making some changes.
So there we are, guys. Thank you very much for that. So big changes made by Ian Foster for the match against Uruguay.